Guys, welcome again to another video. So in this video I'll be showing us how to cut off shoulder princess dart. As you can see the outcome already. So guys, without wasting much of our time, let's dive right to the video. Please like the video, and if you are yet to subscribe, please don't leave without subscribing. I have my fabric already folded in two, and I have it double both for the back and for the front part. So I'll proceed now by marking out my measurements. But before I start that, I'm going to be marking out the starting points. So this exact place you see me mark out now, that is where I'm going to be starting from. So any measurement I'm taking is from there. So the full length is 15. You can see I place 14 on that mark, my starting point, because it's off shoulder. So I'm minusing 4 inches and I'm marking out 15. Then for sewing allowance, I marked out 1 inch, making the total length to be 16. So I'll proceed now by marking out my chest line, which I'm using 8 for it. Then for the bust points, I'm going to be using 10. So I'll mark it out now. I'll proceed to the under bust, which is 12.5. So these are my horizontal lines. You can see the first one, I have it, the chest line, CL. I have the bust point, which I tagged BP. Then I have the next one, which is the under bust, then the main length. So checking out the fabric, you see my fabric is folded in two. I have one. Then the second one also folded in two. The down one is the one I'll be using for the back parts, and I left about 1 inch allowance for the zipper. So I'm just going to be marking it out like that. You can see it's just 1 inch, which I'm leaving it for the zipper allowance. Then I'll proceed to the neck. So the wideness of the neck, I'm using 4 inches, and for the depth, I'm going to be using about 2.5 inches. So look at, I just placed my tape rule exactly minusing that 4, then I marked out 6.5. You can just use 2.5 instead of doing that. But then I'll proceed by getting out by marking out the sweater's neck. Then from that point where the wideness of the neck stops, I mark about 2.5 to the side, exactly the way you are seeing it. So from there, I'm going to be connecting that point to my chest line point. You can see exactly what I'm doing now. So I'll proceed by marking out my breast span, that is nipple to nipple divided by 2, and is 7. So divided by 2, I have 3.5 plus 0.5 allowance, so I marked out 4. Then under bust, I'm just marking out 3.5. Then the down part, I also mark out 3.5, just only on the bust point that I marked out the 4 inches. So I'm connecting the under bust downward, you can see. And I'll also proceed by connecting it to the bust point. But since they are not on the same line, it's going to be bent exactly the way you're seeing me connecting it together. Then I'll connect it to the upper part, which is my shoulder parts, although there's no shoulder ball, towards the neck area, exactly the way you're seeing. Then on the under bust, I'm going to be marking out 2 inches. So you can as well mark out 2.5, depends on how big the bust of the fellow. Then upward on the chest line, I marked out 1.5. So I'm going to be connecting that 1.5 to the line, to the chest line. Then under bust line, which I marked 2 inches, I'm going to be connecting it to the bust point, and I'll be cuffing it to the bust point. Then the other one to the chest line. You can see the CL. You can see exactly what I'm doing. So from the underbust, I will just trace it down with my ruler, downward like that. So proceed to mark out the circumference of our bust divided by 4. The bust I'm going to be using is 34. 34 divided by 4. I'm going to be marking it out from on the chest line. So I'll mark it out and I will add about 2.5 allowance, because I'm still going to be adding this, stitching these allowances together, the darts together. So I'm leaving about 2.5. So at the end I'll still have some allowance left inside. Then under bust circumference is also 28. 28 divided by 4. So I'm having 7. I'm going to be marking out the 7 first. Then I'll take my tape rule and also mark out what I have inside, which I'm going to be cutting out later. So I'll mark it again after the 7, then adding about 2 inches allowance. So I'll also mark it. Then I'll connect it upward and downward, just connecting the points together. And I'll proceed now to cut out. Just take a look at how I'm cutting it out. Remember, I'm cutting both back and front together, so I just want the back first. So I've cut out the starting point, you can see, then the main length I have. You can see exactly how I'm cutting it. Then I'm going to be separating the back, but before that I will just open up the zipper allowance. So I'll separate the back, I'll keep it aside, okay? So on the back part, so that I will not be having excess allowance, I'm going to be removing about 0.5 to 1 inch from the side of the back side. Okay, then we'll proceed now to cut out the darts on the front part. This is why I removed darts from the back side, because I didn't cut out this exact part from the back, so I just removed it from the side. You can see I went ahead to also cut out the neck. I want it sweeter and I cut it out, so you can see what I have for the back. So I'm just marking out because my fabric is almost the same both front and back. After cutting out the front, I'll place the fronts on the back side to cut out the neck. I don't want the neck to be the same deep as the front, so I just cut out about 1.5. So you can see what I have for the front, then for the back also. And now I also went ahead to cut out my lining. If this video is really useful for you, please give it a thumbs up and see you in my next video. This is how the outcome looks. Bye.